it's Addie, and today we are watching We Stand Alone Together, The Men of Easy Company. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you are new here, welcome. Today we are finishing out my Band of Brothers journey. Obviously, I just finished this series last week, and those final episodes definitely wrecked me. I don't know, I mean, there were so many moments that were so hard to watch throughout each and every episode, but I mean, episode 9 was so hard to get through. Episode 10 was satisfying to find out what happened to them, but also like the very end where they finally revealed who is who. I don't know what it was. Maybe just because I didn't know who they were throughout these 10 episodes, but it just brought tears to my eyes immediately. So we're going to finish out this journey with the documentary. And I've said probably in every single one of these videos that the interviews at the beginning of each episode, those are my favorite parts. So I'm definitely looking forward to this, to hearing more from them, finding out more about their lives maybe. I'm not sure if this will follow the war specifically, their time in the war, or maybe we'll see more of what happened to them after. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how this is going to go, but I love the interviews so much. So I think I am really going to enjoy this, and I feel like this will just complete my journey in the best way. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe for more reaction videos, and let's get into We Stand Alone Together.
Hi.
Thanks for sitting down with us again. We appreciate it.
All I remember is a tremendous blast, and when I tried to get up, only thing I could see were the broken ends of my legs.
Oh.
And I thought my legs were gone, and I thought, I'm about to die.
To have that feeling.
And then the next thing I thought of was my mother. I thought, what's she going to say? Because I was an only child.
Oh. And we saw what happened next. Fought for the liberation of Holland. Held the front line in the Battle of the Bulge. Oh, sustained one of the highest casualty rates of the war. I don't think I realized that, but I mean, it makes sense because they were on the front lines. This is their story.
On December 7th of 41, the USA is in a war with Japan, and everything just went silent.
Oh.
Something was wrong with you if you weren't in the service in those days.
I wasn't going to be in the infantry, I knew that. I was going to be in some top kind of a unit, or I wasn't going to be in the Army.
Life magazine had run an article on paratroopers, and I just got interested in seeing if I couldn't become a paratrooper.
They mentioned that in the series, right? I can't remember if Lipton said it or if someone else did.
You want to be with the best.
We was proud to be paratroopers. We was proud to be working with the guys we were working with.
You know those people better than you will ever know anybody in your life.
Out of 100%, only 10% made it.
I thought I was going to die.
Wow, only 10%.
Some of them lost as much as 40 pounds, but I didn't
Wow.
have nothing to lose. I weighed about 130.
Oh yeah, you didn't have anything to lose.
Had to climb this mountain called Currahee every morning, run it up
Yeah.
and back.
Of course, the name Currahee, as I understand it, means we stand
Ooh.
alone together. That's an Indian name.
Oh, that makes sense.
And it didn't matter how hard they trained you and how tired you got, you would still go out on your own and run the mountain at night, which was ridiculous because when you had to run it during the day, all you did was bitch and moan.
We learned how to be soldiers at Toccoa.
The paratroopers of the 101st Airborne Division was as well trained as you could get a soldier to be.
They marched us all out there to the airfield. There was a bunch of guys out there that already made their jump, and they was all hollering, "You're gonna be sorry," you know.
You didn't want to be afraid.
I imagine you still are afraid, though.
You didn't want to be afraid, so you kept that out of your mind.
Think of anything else.
The first jump you make is not all that bad. You don't know what you're doing.
I would think the first one would be the worst. That's interesting.
The landing was the hardest part.
Once I got out and the chute opened, I was happy to Lord. I was small, too, and I didn't hurt myself when I hit the ground. Some of the big ones hit the ground like a ton of, what's his name?
We were thoroughly prepared, physically and mentally, and they were ready to jump. Thus, we started off for Normandy.
After 15 months of training, they were bound for England. Is 15 months a long time for military training, or is that typical? I don't actually know.
They put us in a camp preparing us for D-Day.
They had guards around the marshalling area.
Wow.
So nobody could leave. That's when you felt that this is it.
Yeah, no kidding.
If you could have been there at the time to see where the planes were lined up and all the gliders.
So there's no question about it. We knew it was going to be big.
Didn't know how big. Whew.
We had confidence in our leaders. We were confident and calm.
Wow. As calm as you can be, I guess. Whew. I guess at this point, they've been preparing for months or years, really.
A lot of them were very scared. I was scared too, but probably in a different way that other people were.
June 6th. Yeah, we know what happens then.
I had no feelings whatsoever. Like I said, my feelings was for my brother who was killed at that time.
Wow, 13,400.
I swore I was going to kill every damn German I came across. And that's why I think they nicknamed me Wild Bill, because I did a lot of killing D-Day.
I saw the thousands of craft ships, everything from LCIs to battleships.
I mean, so many. That's wild.
The British come up with this. They call them leg bags. Everyone that jumped with a leg bag or supplies, they lost it. Most of the paratroopers that landed didn't have nothing.
Throw that leg out. Only I was gone out and my leg was in.
Oh.
And I was hanging upside down.
I just helped him out. I just picked him up, threw him out, I guess.
Whoever the machine gunner was down there that was concentrating on me apparently was not a very good shot.
I mean, it's good for you. Lucky for you.
And my chute fell across the power lines and I hit that fence. I'll never will forget it. It had glass in the top of it and cut me up.
Oh.
That didn't bother me. I was down, and I got down with my gun.
We were running into Germans everywhere, but we had to hide. If we didn't, we were dead meat.
Yeah, you wouldn't be here to be interviewed.
There's 4 guys that were with me on D-Day who did have nothing but a jump knife when they landed. Later on, we run across somebody who had been killed, and you take his weapon.
You just have to. Those are intense.
These guns were pointed and firing right down on the beach.
The guns were hidden on a farm. Oh, is this today? Wow.
The Germans had moved in there and camouflaged us so well, we didn't know it was there.
Controlled by 50 Germans. Easy Company received orders to take the guns with a squad of only 12 men.
They weren't aware of what we had. They didn't realize we only had 12 people.
At this point, I guess, is this the second episode? What happened in the second episode?
I was in the trench and I looked and I saw an arm. The man was in a camouflage tent and I didn't even see him. And that thing fell right down in that trench with me. And I felt like it blew my butt over my head. And pretty near did.
Oh.
I felt like I kind of let him down, but that's neither here nor there.
It's beautiful when you think of a guy who is that dedicated to his company, to his buddies, that he apologizes for getting hit. But that's the kind of guy he was, and that's the kind each one of them was. They were all the same.
They captured and destroyed the guns, saving countless lives on Utah Beach.
Each one of them proved himself that he could do the job. And maybe if I had been harder, if I had done a little bit better job, there would have been a couple more men going home.
Oh. They returned with 74 officers and men. They had jumped with 139. Oh. And so Winters is still thinking to this day, or to the time of this recording, that if he had been harder on them, he could have saved more lives.
We got that done in Edinburgh, Scotland, 1944. Me and Johnny Martin. Drunk as a skunk.
We didn't figure we had a chance to come home.
Oh gosh.
We thought, well, hell, the war's just starting, and Christ, we're 50% Not gone now. It's long haul.
Yeah, to already lose so many men, that doesn't give you a lot of hope, I guess.
There were young kids that came in. They were the first ones killed. And I think maybe they were trying to impress the older guys, maybe people like me or Shifty. I got right there to where I didn't want to be friendly with replacements coming in because, God, I didn't like seeing them get killed.
Yeah. September 17th.
The drop was perfect.
Daytime drop's a lot easier. You can see where you're going. You can sort of prepare for the landing.
Oh my gosh, so many parachutes, so many men.
Our mission was first to take a bridge over the Wilhelmina Canal. Just as we got to it, I was maybe 150 yards away, it blew up in our faces. It took us till the next morning to get across. But once we got in, the Dutch, it was just marvelous. They loved Americans and still do.
Allied forces liberated the Dutch.
And they hugged you and kissed you, and we didn't mind. You know, naturally, we was young.
This isn't too bad.
I see a hand there with a potato masher. I ducked down, it hit my helmet and bounced off. I hollered out to the guys below.
If Lesniewski hadn't hollered live grenade, I know I'd have either had my head blown off or I would have definitely been blinded.
Oh.
So the doctor that counted the holes in me down at Nijmegen, the first doctor that really counted the holes, said there was 32.
That was our first experience with
Wow.
artillery in large numbers.
9 men of Easy Company lost their lives in Holland.
All your life. You gotta remember what one guy did because he thought it was his job to do, and he took a shot for you.
And they still think about this all these years later. Bastogne. Oh, I'm curious to hear what they have to say about this. The Battle of the Bulge would become the largest engagement in the history of the U.S. Army. 600,000 American soldiers would fight. I mean, that's wild that many people were involved.
Sure looks different now. There ain't no snow. Oh, this is definitely the area. This is definitely.
Oh, it must be so wild to be back here to look at all of this.
You just dove in the hole and just pray. That's it. If it comes in, you ain't going to know it. We lost Muck and Pancella over on this side. They were killed instantly. They were all gone, just disintegrated. Unmerciful
like that.
shelling. To me, it brings a lot of memories. The memories of the men, the times, good and bad. A lot of memories.
Even today, a real cold night, my wife will tell you that first thing I'll say is, I'm glad I'm not in Bastogne.
Yeah.
We were short of equipment. We didn't have enough ammunition. We didn't have enough warm clothes. There was very little information, only that the Germans had broken through. When we got there, we saw men singly and in twos and threes. Some of them were terrified.
Yeah.
And every one of them were telling us, you know, they're going to kill everybody.
They said they couldn't be stopped.
It had to be so discouraging before you even get there, knowing that you're not prepared, hearing the people who are coming back from it, hearing how awful it is. It has to be so discouraging.
Germans knew right where we were, and they really gave us a shellacking.
In wartime, the Mother Earth is your best friend. You can always dig a hole and get out of sight, you know. And by the time you get it done, they whistle for you to, we're moving out. And you go someplace else and dig another one.
They had to do so much digging.
We went through a couple shellings at Bastogne. If you live through them, you remember them for the rest of your life. And I'm not sure you're the same. You never forget them.
One of the guys got hit in the arm with a piece of shrapnel, took his arm off. He said, get my wristwatch off my arm. That always stayed with me. I mean, calm voice and everything, get my wristwatch off my arm.
They were letting us have it, everything. From the kitchen sink, mortars, Erfel whoppers.
It scared the hell out. I mean, I was scared, but I think I was petrified then. I thought the whole world was shooting at us at once.
Sergeant Garnier lost a leg, and Joe Torrey lost a leg in the same place right there on one hill.
Joe said, what do I have to do to die? He got hit real bad, the back and the leg. I went out to see what I could do for him. Bongo, I got it too.
He was holding his leg and it was jerking like that. He said, Lip, they got old Garnier this time.
These memories are still so fresh for them all these years later.
They brought a Jeep down, and we put them on stretchers, and I'm going to talk about them.
Oh.
Better not talk about it.
Yeah. All of this is still so fresh and so real all these years later.
When a man was wounded, we felt glad for them. We felt happy for them. He had a ticket to get out of there and maybe a ticket to go home. And when we had a man who was killed, we found that he was at peace and he looked so peaceful. We're glad that he found peace.
We had this assistant squad leader named Mallet. He says, I've been through Normandy and I went through Holland. I haven't got one scratch. He says, I'm afraid when I do get it, I'm really going to get it. And he was right. In this little town of Foy, he got killed.
Oh.
I don't think he had any premonition of it. He just wondered about it, you know.
That's exactly what happened.
You just live from day to day.
Just one step at a time.
Keep your fingers crossed, and that was it.
Oh. They held Bastogne, suffering massive casualties. They lost 15 men. To hear them talk about how if you're wounded, you're glad for the men because they're potentially going home. If you see them die, they're at peace. Easy Company moved into Germany.
The Germans had started to surrender. They still had their arms. Our job is to get to the end and get to the heart of it. Butcher's Garden, that's the end of the line. This was their final retreat.
We took Butcher's Garden May the 5th. No fighting, no shooting.
Took over his house and liberated it, you might say.
I was a pack rat anyway. I picked up a lot of German items, including some postcards and envelopes that were addressed to Hitler.
We found a warehouse full of gin and vodka and stuff like that. It wasn't much whiskey.
Hit the jackpot!
And we took it all and set up a bar.
So we stayed pretty well oiled for a
while.
while.
That champagne was good.
Yeah.
It was good.
You deserved it at this point.
I went to the barracks, went to sleep. I didn't wake up the next day. I made a 2-day thing out of it. Didn't taste like it would hurt you. It tastes like ginger ale.
The whole company fell out in their underwear. We didn't even have to dress, you know. We just fell out in line formation in our underwear.
I had no problem with looting because of the fact that I had come down through Germany and I had seen the Holocaust.
Yeah.
And I had seen what the Germans had done to the Jewish race, and I'd seen what they had done to the displaced persons. By taking over their homes for a few nights, if they picked up a few trinkets, I had no problem.
Germany formally surrendered on May 8th. Easy Company helped secure the surrender of 25,000 German troops.
I think we thought that the Germans were probably the evilest people in the world. As the war went along, we found out also that it wasn't the Germans per se.
I've thought about this often. That man and I might have been good friends. We might have had a lot in common. Of course, they were doing what they were supposed to do, and I was trying to do what I was supposed to do. Under different circumstances, we might have been good friends.
Yeah. I mean, who knows if things had been different? Who knows?
I was assigned this major. He presented me this pistol, offered his personal surrender. I accepted.
And you still have that pistol.
This pistol had never been fired. There was no blood on it.
Wow.
That's the way all wars should end, with an agreement with no blood on it. And I assure you, this pistol has never been fired since I've had it, and it will not be fired.
And he still has it. Easy Company no longer existed. How do we even go back to life after all of that? I don't know.
They didn't know what they were going to do when they got out. I had no idea.
I wonder if any of them kept in touch, or like how much they kept in touch.
We've never become wealthy in life, but we have a lot of other wealth that means more than that, really.
Everyone done well. I done well too. Thank God.
Since 1946.
I want to welcome.
We have gathered together for annual reunions. I was wondering about this. I'm glad they kept in touch.
The purpose the reunions serve is just to give us a chance to get together and talk to each other. We have great respect and you might say affection for each other.
Yeah. You're a band of brothers.
If you see the people today, that bond's still there. The bond you can't explain.
There's an intimacy develops like nothing that I've ever experienced anywhere, not in college, not in
with any other group of people.
I'm back in my youth now. When I get to these guys, I'm back when I went to service. I'd like to make 20 more reunions.
Aww.
My family didn't know anything about it, and just didn't tell them. I just figured it's something that didn't need talking about it.
How much they open up to their families.
We didn't know Shifty the way the men know Shifty.
It was like that was another life. It didn't even dawn on me that he'd killed people.
Yeah. I mean, how do you even talk about that?
He's a good guy. He's a real strong guy. We travel a lot, and we've been to France and to that cemetery.
These weren't just anonymous. These were people that I knew.
These are your friends, your brothers.
When I went there, I said, Dad, my gosh, Dad, you were so lucky. He looked at me and he said, yeah, I'm very lucky, and he started crying.
Joe Toy, 506th PIR, 101st Airborne Division. That's what he wanted on his tombstone. It meant that much to him.
As you know, every Army unit thinks it's the best, but we knew we were the best.
Think about the guys more than anything else. Think about most of them every day.
Am I a little proud of having once served in that outfit? You bet your life. Probably the proudest thing in my whole life is having been in Easy Company 506.
The ones that are buried in the cemeteries, those are the true heroes, not us. We're just part of the work, that's all.
You're heroes too.
The son and the mother and father are the heroes of the Second World War. Not the guys that come home.
You guys are heroes, though.
I don't believe there's very, very, very few heroes that came back from the war.
It's interesting they all say the same thing.
Grandpa, were you a hero in the war? Grandpa said no, but I served in a company of heroes.
Oh, it's so interesting. I mean, they're all heroes, but they don't consider themselves to be heroes. It's so interesting. Or are they gonna name, oh gosh, all of them? I imagine we're gonna see so many names from June 6th. Yeah, so many from June 6th.
And we used to have a few beers at night, and I'd sing, Bridget of Flynn, where have you been? Sure it's a fine time for you to come in. Now that's the song Twilight. And that's what we sang. You only needed a sissel of beer. 2 beers you were drunk because you were in great physical condition. 2 beers you were high as Georgia Pine. You know.
Oh gosh. I'm really glad that I watched this. I mean, I do think this is the perfect way to end this Band of Brothers journey. And I don't know, there were some questions I had after the series of kind of their lives after that I'm glad they touched on. Like, I was curious if they talked to their families and their friends about what happened, about their experience, because I mean, I don't even know, how do you even bring that up? How do you even talk about it? I know that my great-grandfather fought in World War II and he never talked about it. Like, decades later, he wouldn't talk about it. I think finally he talked a little bit with my uncle, but I mean, it's just so traumatic. They just don't bring it up. So it is interesting to hearing the family's perspective too, of how they didn't know this side of their fathers, of their grandfathers, of their uncles, and it's just so interesting. I do love. I was wondering if they had any reunions, if they kept in touch, and then as soon as I thought that, they showed that they did have reunions every year. I love that. I mean, especially just throughout the series, but especially this documentary, it just shows how close they were. I mean, they talked about how, I mean, obviously they had so many horrific moments and so much of it was horrible, but they also had such great moments together too, and it truly just bonds you, and it creates, as the title is, it creates a band of brothers. So I'm so glad that they, at least until they passed, I mean, this is 20 years later at this point, but I'm so glad that they had those reunions, especially hearing that, I mean, they didn't really talk to their families about it. So I feel like it's so important for them to keep in contact, to talk to each other, and to still have that reunion. I mean, I don't know, like, their memories seemed so fresh, and it was still so fresh on their minds. And obviously it was still so emotional for them all of these decades later. So I feel like it's so important for them to get together and still create, I guess, happier memories together. I don't know. But, yeah, I'm really glad I watched this documentary. I do feel like I've heard that this is like the 11th episode of Band of Brothers, and I do agree. The interviews have been my favorite part this whole time, so I'm really glad that I heard more from them. I mean, to see them visit Bastogne and just I don't know. This documentary, this entire series, just all of it is so special, and I'm just so glad that I've gone through this journey, and thank you for going on it with me. Well, this is the end, but this was We Stand Alone Together. I don't know if they mentioned it in the first episode. I don't know if they mentioned that Currahee stood for We Stand Alone Together. And I don't know, it just kind of was the perfect phrase for all of them. I don't know, and for this documentary, just for the series, just for their lives. I don't know. It's interesting that that mountain and the name of it had so much significance for them just throughout their next few years and throughout the rest of their lives. Wow. Well, this was We Stand Alone Together. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you next time.